Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Chicago. My name is Jon Zaghloul. Great to have you here on Channel 59.3 BPOD TV and Roku. Big show for today is we're going to break down the latest regarding the Bears head coach and GM search, who may best fit this position moving forward. Before we get started, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. If you want to watch more of this show, search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. You want to watch more of this show or other shows from the BPOD TV network, search up BPOD TV on YouTube. I want to start today with this. We talked about this a bit last week too. The Bears are being very thorough when it comes to their GM and head coach search, to their credit. Nothing's changed in that regard from last week to today. They're looking around, interviewing tons of people. We'll talk about that. They're asking Bill Polian to help. I mean, that's something, right? Bill Polian did say Lamar Jackson would be a wide receiver, but let's just say it's okay. Let's say for a minute, that's fine. At least the Bears don't have an ego, right? Ownership is at least asking others to help them get this right. Here's the real question, though. Will they get this right? It's a simple question, and yet for years upon years, it's never been answered. Will they get this right? Bill Embry, Mark Trestman, Ryan Pace, John Fox, Matt Nagy, Lovie Smith, Jerry Angelo. And these are just recent firings and hirings. Will the Bears get this right now? What differences do we see in their front office from then to now? Nothing. Same people doing the hiring. George McCaskey and Ted Phillips. I only have one piece of advice off the top. Please hire a GM before you hire a head coach. Please. Don't do this the other way around. Don't start problems when there don't need to be. The general manager is going to be higher up than the head coach. He should pick his head coach. He should. That's how it works. Don't hire a head coach, then a GM, and the GM doesn't like the coach, and then we're back at square one again. That's why it doesn't make any sense to me why they're even interviewing coaches when they have no GM. Shouldn't the GM be sitting in on those meetings? Right or wrong? Hey, Ryan Pace hired two coaches. GM, in place, hired two different coaches. Didn't work, all fired. What about now? There is no GM. There's nobody. Right now, if you look on the Bears website or you think about their front office, it's George McCaskey and Ted Phillips. Right now. Oh, I'm sorry, and Bill Polian as a consultant. Last time I checked, that's not how it's supposed to go. You know, there's an old saying, don't put the cart before the horse. The GM is the horse. Head coach, cart. You have a cart and no horse, cart won't move. It's going to sit there. You need the horse first to move. As a means of transportation. For the Bears, in their case, to be better, you need the GM first. They have interviewed people, but they've also interviewed a ton of head coaching candidates. They need the GM before they hire the coach. Some of the guys they've interviewed here, officially, Quincy Adolfo-Mensah, Glenn Cook, Ed Dodds, Jeff Ireland, Champ Bailey, Monte Olsenfort, Joe Shane, and Elliott Wolf. So far. A lot of guys yet to be interviewed too. Rocco Brown, Omar Khan, another, Reggie McKenzie, Rick Smith, JoJo Wooden. Head coaching candidates who have been interviewed too. Jim Caldwell, Brian Dable, Matt Eberflus, Brian Flores, Nathaniel Hackett, and Doug Peterson, Todd Bowles, Leslie Frazier, Byron Leftwich, Dan Quinn, still to be interviewed. I'm very intrigued, fortunately, by all the names out there for head coach. And here's at least one good sign. If you're so worried about this, here's one good sign. All these guys are asking to be interviewed. And look at all these people the Bears have interviewed and have been tied to. And these are the top candidates. Jim Caldwell is a great coach. Not saying he's good now, but overall, great coach. Historic. Great coach. Brian Dable, we know what he's capable of offensively. Brian Flores. Doug Peterson. I don't like Doug Peterson, but Super Bowl winner. And they will be, supposedly, interviewing Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich, Leslie Frazier. What does that tell you? All these high-profile names want a crack at the Bears' job. There was a report, too, that came out saying Jim Harbaugh is still not out on the Bears. I don't think it's happening. I'd be shocked if it did. The whole reason Harbaugh mentioned the NFL was to get a better contract at Michigan. I mean, they just had a great year. I wouldn't even leave that program. I really wouldn't. If I were Harbaugh, I'd stay there for the rest of my career. You're making good money. You can recruit your own players. Win a few games. And in his case, this is the first time he's ever beaten Ohio State. Now he's getting paid. You know, he sucked the past couple of years. He beats Ohio State once, and now all of a sudden he's a saint down there. I'd stay there forever. But if he wants to leave, apparently he could be interested still. The point being, a lot of people want this job. A lot of people want the GM job too. So if there's one thing you can hang your hat on, it's that a lot of people are interested. They care. They think they could do a good job. That's exciting. I mean, it'd be different if nobody wanted to interview, right? Think about other vacancies around the league. Jaguars, for example, they have not interviewed half the people the Bears have had. Texans, another. The Bears, for whatever reason, are still considered a premier franchise. Fine by me. There are a couple of things worth noting, though. There have been some reports that have suggested that some head coaching candidates and even GM candidates don't believe in Justin Fields. Now, I want to get this out in the open. Some of you commented to me. I am not anti-Justin Fields. I want to see him prove more, though. Look, you nor I should accept 7 touchdowns, 10 picks, 11 fumbles. Nobody should. Nobody. That's unacceptable. You're going to be an NFL quarterback. So I understand the hesitation by some of these guys coming in who might be scared. Look, it's Mitch Trubisky all over again. Especially if you're a head coach. You inherit a quarterback, you have to make him better. Right? Who knows if that's going to work? We don't know. We don't know what Justin Fields is going to be yet. We have time to dissect what he's done, and he's had some spectacular moments, but he's had some dumb ones, too, as a rookie. All of them do. Look at Trevor Lawrence, even worse. The point being, I understand the trepidation when it comes to Justin Fields. When it comes to inheriting a quarterback you know nothing about. Really. Haven't coached him. Haven't talked to him. Barely seen him. I get it. I really do. I understand. It's natural to want your own guy. I mean, it happens on the coaching staff. Sean Desai just got requested to be interviewed for the Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator position. Odds are, if you're asking me, he'll take that. He'll take that job. When a new coach comes in, Sean Desai, it's going to be so lucky if he sticks around. A coach is going to want his own guy, especially if it's a defensive-minded guy. Then there's no reason for Sean Desai to stay. Brian Flores is hired, Leslie Frazier, defensive-minded guys, there's no reason for him to stay. Something to think about, too. So it's the same idea when it comes to Justin Fields. A lot of these guys are scared. A lot of them don't know what they're getting into. And they want their own guy. I wouldn't be shocked if at least there's an offer made. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but an offer made suggesting that Justin Fields should be traded for a bundle of draft picks. And I'd listen. You have to listen. According to ESPN's Dan Graziano, Brian Flores, Todd Bowles, and Leslie Frazier have emerged as early favorites. In fact, Flores has been mentioned on several occasions over the last couple of days in conjunction with the Bears. Chicago's reportedly, quote, very smitten with Flores and were, quote, extremely impressed with him during joint practices last summer. I'm not fully opposed to hiring Brian Flores. I'm not. The one thing that scares me, quarterback. I get it. The Tua Tagovailoa debate's worse than the Mitch Trubisky debate. I understand. A lot of people don't believe in him, think he's a bust. I don't, but a lot of people do. Fine. If that's what you think, fine. No matter what, though, you can't dispute the way Brian Flores treated Tua this past year, but more so the year before. It was like Mitch Trubisky and Matt Nagy again. Look it up. I remember. Dolphins started with Ryan Fitzpatrick, put in Tua. Started winning. Took him out. Put in Fitzpatrick. Put back in Tua. Last game of the year. Needed to go to the playoffs. Put in Fitzpatrick. That screwed him up. And this past year, every single week this kid's being asked questions and being targeted by the media and by fans. Is he the guy? I don't know if he's the guy. Oh, and by the way, Brian Flores likes Deshaun Watson. And there have been reports that Flores and Watson are still in contact. And wherever Flores goes, Watson wants to go. So what if the Bears hire Flores? What if Watson wants to come to Chicago? Then what is going to be the narrative? If Deshaun Watson gets the off-the-field stuff resolved, he's a 10 times better quarterback than Justin Fields. Sorry. I'd rather take a proven good player. 100-plus passer rating every year, no picks, tons of touchdowns, running the football. I'd love that. The reason I bring up Watson, though, is because during the season, for the Dolphins, they were tied to Watson. Flores did not fully stop the rumor. Okay, so it made things worse for Tua, is my point. It made things so much worse and so much harder for Tua. Constant duress, constant questions about his job. At the end of the day, Flores was fired. Flores went through offensive staffers like it was nothing over the past 2 years. And failed to develop Tua properly and hurt Tua's career. Yes, he did. It's proven. I'm not sure if I want him coming in and dealing with Justin Fields. We just saw what happened to Matt Nagy. The report's out. Matt Nagy sabotaged Mitch Trubisky and obviously hurt Justin Fields. Do you want that to happen again with Brian Flores? Great defensive guy. Players like him, obviously. The Dolphins lost 7 in a row, then won 7 in a row. They like him. They have fight. That's great. But I'm very concerned about the quarterback position. And we don't know his feelings on Justin Fields, which makes it worse. Hope the Bears do. I would hope that question was asked. But that's my point. We don't know. Flores could come in and sabotage Justin Fields. He could bring in Deshaun Watson. Then what? That's my point. We don't know what he's capable of doing when it comes to the quarterback position. That scares me. It should scare you. Leslie Frazier would not be a flashy hiring. I don't think it'd even work too well. Bill's defense is great under his tutelage, but he didn't work in Minnesota as a head coach. I see him more as a coordinator, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of guys, great coordinators, bad head coaches. Lovie Smith being one. Todd Bowles is interesting too. Todd Bowles has skeletons, though, in New York. And again, better than Adam Gase, and so far better than Robert Saleh. I mean, they won 11 games under Bowles. I don't even know who the quarterback was. I don't even know who they had, and they won 11 games under Todd Bowles. Great defensive mind, obviously. Tampa's defense is outstanding. Everybody wants to talk about the offense, Tom Brady, Byron Leftwich, but defense is great. If it wasn't for their defense, they would not have won the Super Bowl last year. Guaranteed. They killed Patrick Mahomes. And they're doing it again this year. I had Warren Sapp on the program, and he raved about their defense. This is a guy who was a defender on the Super Bowl winning team, raving about the current Buccaneers defense. That's Todd Bowles. I still want Brian Daboll right now. I mean, that seems like the best option for what he's done with Josh Allen. Wouldn't be opposed to Jim Caldwell, though. Pedigree. Legend. Jim Caldwell has been successful. In Detroit, he was successful with Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson. Successful. Jim Caldwell's not a bad coach, football lifer. Wouldn't be opposed. Daboll, wouldn't be opposed. Flores, I have my doubts. No on Doug Peterson. No. Please. Please don't. Him and Matt Nagy are essentially the same. We saw what happened last year, what he did to Carson Wentz, what he's done his whole career to Carson Wentz. Put him in, take him out. And last year, you bench Carson Wentz for Jalen Hurts. Look, I'm not opposed to it. I think Hurts is okay, but the point is, we didn't help him. Wentz had a horrible year. He was having a meltdown. Nobody helped him. Peterson didn't care, and he got fired. He just got fired 2 years after winning the Super Bowl. That's a problem. That's scary. I wouldn't hire him. There aren't many people who are supporting Doug Peterson, but if you do, that's a red flag, right? Yeah, we won a Super Bowl 2 years later. Oh, I'm out of a job. I'm fired. Yeah, pretty scary. That's a problem. I'll be honest with you. I don't know who I want at GM. There's so many candidates. A lot of guys haven't even been interviewed yet either. And of the people that have been interviewed, I like Ed Dodds. Jeff Ireland's good too. Those two I'd probably prefer. No one Elliott Wolf. Elliott Wolf was the Patriots director of scouting. No, thank you. What have the Patriots done scouting-wise? I mean, seriously. Besides Tom Brady. Tom Brady carried that team. They never had anybody around him. But a bunch of veterans. That's it. The guys they've drafted or developed have done nothing, really. I'd say probably Dodds or Ireland right now. I like Barack O'Brien. I like Omar Khan. I like Rick Smith. Gotta wait and see. I haven't interviewed yet. I wish we had knowledge of the interviews, how they've gone, but we don't. So we don't know what these people are saying. We don't know who they prefer. We don't know how they would help Justin Fields. So we can only go off of their prior experience. That's why I say I'm scared about Brian Flores or Doug Peterson. Even Todd Bowles. Brian Flores, too. I mean, if you bring in a defensive guy, what are you going to do to help Fields? You need to hire a good OC. Who's that going to be? We don't know. And that's the thing you got to watch out for. So nobody knows yet. No one knows anything yet. Only positive out of this entire process that you really have to take away, if you're really worried about this, take away one thing. A lot of people want to be interviewed. A lot of people want to be interviewed for this position, for both positions. And that's great. That's beautiful. Because you know what? It makes the Bears look like a premier destination, when obviously they're not. We saw the Matt Nagy news that came out regarding Mitch Trubisky and Nagy. We've seen what Nagy's done. Trubisky to Fields, Ryan Pace, McCaskey telling Nagy, put in Fields. McCaskey, the guy who says he knows nothing about football, overstepping his bounds and putting in a quarterback. So for anybody, somehow, some way, who wants to interview for this franchise with this team, that's unbelievable. And I'd be happy if I were you. There are a lot of people the Bears have to choose from. Doesn't mean they'll get it right. But a lot of people want to be here. I don't think they have a chance of getting this right, because they haven't before. George McCaskey's been with the Bears since 2011 in his role. Ted Phillips has been here since 1999. What have they done? How many head coaches and GMs and presidents have they gone through? A lot. A lot of them. I can't even name all of them. Dick Duran, Lovie Smith, Mark Trestman, John Fox, Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, Bill Embry, Jerry Angelo. And that's all recent memory. That's the last 15, 20 years. Remember, the Bears passed up on Bruce Arians for Mark Trestman. Remember that. They've gotten it wrong time and time again. The Bears. So as grateful as I am to see all these people interview, I know this. One of these people who the Bears interview is going to land another job, for sure. And the Bears are going to miss the boat here. And they have a lot of people they're interviewing. One of them is going to end up to be great. One of them will be. It's just how it works. Someone from this pool will be a great head coach. And the Bears won't hire him. GM too. Someone from this pool will be a great GM with another team. Bears will miss him. That's this franchise in a nutshell. That's how they are. That's how they operate. They always find a way to disappoint you. I don't know what to expect yet. And we don't know if interviews are over. There's been some reports that maybe Josh McDaniels will interview. Jim Harbaugh could, too. So we don't know yet. But based on what I've seen so far, I just hope they get it right. There are pros and cons with all these candidates. Right now, Dable, Caldwell, Flores, maybe. That would be my top three. GM, there are so many different people. I want to wait till everybody's interviewed there before I make a definitive conclusion. But I have ideas for head coach. Dable should be at the top of the list. Flores second if you want, and then Caldwell third. That's fine. They need an offensive coach, though. And I'm not talking about some fake offensive coach like Matt Nagy. Dable has results. He calls plays. He does the work in Buffalo. Matt Nagy did nothing in Kansas City. Dable does the work. Dable developed Josh Allen. I remember Josh Allen when he came up. Sucked. Horrible. I used to have fights with people about Josh Allen, whether or not he was good. Good now. Brian Dable. Thank you. He's not some poser. He's not Matt Nagy, riding the coattails of Andy Reid. He actually has produced. He actually calls plays and develops quarterbacks. That's what I want. I'm not opposed fully to Brian Flores, but I'm scared about Flores' track record with Tua. Yes, I am. And you could say, well, it's Tua's fault he's a bust. The fact is, it's just like Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky and Matt Nagy and Justin Fields. That scares me. 100% scares me. The Bears put an investment into Justin Fields. I don't want a coach coming in and just ending the whole thing right away. Flores did that with Tua. His rookie year. Put him in, put him out. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tua. Back and forth. Doesn't that sound like Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky? Or Justin Fields and Andy Dalton and Nick Foles? That's a problem. We're not going to do this again. I'm not interested in the Matt Nagy lookalike. I'm not interested in quarterback controversy. I'm interested in somebody who's going to develop Justin Fields and get the job done. Dable would be great. Caldwell, because he's a veteran, I'd like to. I wouldn't mind a defensive-minded head coach if they bring in somebody who can develop Fields. I like Flores. Great guy, I'm sure. Good coach. But you can't overlook what he did to Tua. He didn't even discredit rumors that Tua would be traded. Didn't discredit them during the season. These were problems. These were problems in Miami. Nobody cared. No one talked about them. Who cares about the Miami Dolphins? But these happened. That's why I'm scared about them. And you should be too. The Bears just need to get this right. That's it. That's all I'm asking. Please get it right. Don't screw this up again, because you know what? People are sick of this. People are sick of every 4 years going through a head coach, going through a GM, going back to square one. Somebody better come in and develop Justin Fields. Somebody better come in and rebuild this franchise. Somebody better come in and make the Bears, for once, a contender. It's not impossible. It's happened to every other organization you could think of. It better happen with the Bears, too. Thanks for watching today's show here on BPOD TV, channel 59.3 in Roku. Really appreciate the time. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. If you want to watch more of this show, search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. Really appreciate the time. Tune in every night at 10:30 right here on BPOD TV. So long, everyone.